Hello guys, this video is devoted to the brand new MacBook Pro 2021 with Apple Silicon M1 Max processor. I know some of you are planning to get this computer for music production as well. Before the purchase, you want to know about its reliability and performance. Today I'll do a crash test. I'm going to overload the CPU and see how many instances of some popular plugins it can handle. And of course I'm curious to compare this new machine with my older MacMini 2012. The specs of this MacBook are the following. It's 16 inches, 10-core M1 Max processor, 24 GPU, 32 RAM, and 2 TB SSD. I'll quickly start with the first impressions about this machine. I'm using it for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess. And I had no issues, no problems. I've installed all the apps I'm using, all plugins, Ableton Live. I have no issues at all. I've installed 2 versions of Ableton Live. Current version, official version that runs under Rosetta, it's Ableton Live 11.0.12. And also I've installed a beta version that runs natively. Currently it's beta version. I've installed hundreds of plugins, and there are native instruments, Arturia, Waves, Xfer Audio, Serum, and so on and so forth. Maybe, I guess, all popular developers. And I have an issue with only one plugin. It's PSP AudioWare Fat Compressor. It doesn't work on this macOS Monterey at all. I've contacted tech support and they told me that the update for this plugin will be ready soon. So beside this one plugin, I have hundreds that work fine on this brand new macOS. When I got the new machine, of course, I was very excited to compare it with my older computers. It's MacMini and MacBook Pro, both 2012. I've prepared some tests, and today I'm gonna share the results of these tests with you. The plan for the test is the following. I'm going to compare side by side my older computer and the new one. The specs of my older MacMini 2012 are the following. It's a 4-core Intel i7 2 and 3 GHz processor, and it has 4 GB RAM. For this comparison on this new Mac, I'm going to use the latest version of Ableton Live that runs under Rosetta. For this test, I'm taking 3 popular virtual instruments. It's U-he Diva that can be very heavy from the point of view of CPU. Arturia Pigments that can be heavy as well, especially if you are using harmonic or granular mode. And Serum. I know it's quite CPU friendly, but as far as it's one of the most popular scenes ever, I guess, I decided to include this VST to this test. For all these scenes, I'm going to use very heavy presets, and I'm going to use 4 notes playback for both machines. And then I'm going to measure how many instances each machine can handle with the same settings. As soon as I get some glitches or breaks due to CPU overload, I stop the playback and mark it as death. For both machines, I'm going to use the built-in audio interface. I don't want to use external audio card because I don't want to plug it in and out and connect it back and forth to one machine and then to another one. I guess for a pure and fair test, I should use the same audio interface on both machines. That is a built-in audio interface. Also, I'm not going to use screen recording or any background applications on these machines to save the whole CPU power to Ableton Live and the plugins only. I'll demonstrate the comparison in real time, and I'll capture all the values in a chart. Then I will open Ableton Live Beta that runs natively, and I'll do the same 4 nodes tests, so we can compare the results between Rosetta and native performance on the same machine. So that's all about the technical information of the test, and let's begin. Let's start with Diva. I've installed the latest version of the synth on both computers. The version is 1.4.5. Let me describe how this crash test preset is set. I've initialized the preset. It's just a regular sawtooth. And the important things are here. Accuracy. I choose Divine mode. It gives the highest quality, but at the same time, this is the heaviest mode from the point of view of CPU performance. Then, in voices, I choose 16 and stack 4. So when I hit 4 keys, 4 notes, I use all 16 voices of the synth. Also, I choose Multicore mode in the upper row settings. The same preset is here. And now, I'm gonna play 4 notes here, and we will compare how many instances these computers may handle with the same presets. We'll start with the older MacMini 2012. I choose 32 samples in buffer size, and let's see. One instance of the plugin works fine. Let's copy it and play two at the same time. Again, 4 notes. You hear the glitches, so we regard it as the death. Let's increase the buffer size to 512 and see how many instances it can handle. I'll double the number of divas. It's completely dead. It can't even play all these notes. It got frozen. Okay, let's try the maximum, 2048 samples. No, it's dead. I play 4 notes and the computer gets frozen. Okay, let's delete one instance of Diva. 3. Okay, the first results are the following. MacMini 2012 can handle 3 instances of Diva on its maximum settings. And let's see how many instances we can get here. This is kind of strange. This is not what we are expected. So at 32 samples, it can't handle this Diva. But what I've noticed, if I turn off this multi-core button off, it works fine now. Let's increase the amount of Divas to... No, we hear some glitches and we regard it as death as well. So let's increase buffer size to 512 as we did it previously on the old computer. That's fine. 4, 8, 12. No. And let's increase the buffer size to 2048. Still no. No. So it can handle 8 instances of this crash test Diva preset versus 3 instances on the older computer. I'm also curious to try the older computer without this multi-core mode. Let's turn it off. So without this multi-core mode on the older Mac, it can't even handle 3 instances of the Diva. Let's try 2. And even 2, you hear the glitches. Now, again, let's turn it on. Yes, 3 works fine. Now let me try to use Diva in multi-core mode, but on maximum buffer size, and let's see whether it makes any difference. I'll take 8 instances. No, maybe a bit. Five works fine. We have the first conclusion. Multi-core mode here and here works differently. On older Mac, multi-core mode helps to increase the performance, but on this Mac it's better to turn this multi-core mode off, because the performance is better without it. Now let's see how many instances these computers can handle in draft mode, the most CPU-friendly mode. So this is the first instance, let's copy it. I guess we will start with 8. Works fine. 12 works fine. 16. 32, no. Let's decrease the number of instances. 31, no. 30 instances of U-he Diva in draft mode with buffer size 2048. And now let's try draft mode on the older Mac. I'm gonna use multi-core mode here because it gives a better performance. Let's change the accuracy to draft and let's increase the amount of the plugins. Let's start with 4. No, it's dead. Let's try 3 nodes, not 4. No, it's dead again. So this computer needs up to 10 seconds to get unfrozen after this stress test. On this older Mac, I don't know, maybe this is just my issue, maybe some other Macs work better than mine, but I can't use more than 3 instances of Diva with polyphonic timbres, with 4 sounds, 16 voices, unison. So 3 instances is the final story for this computer, while for this one, again, in draft mode, it can handle up to 30 instances of the same plugin. I hope this Diva comparison was clear, and now let's move to the second plugin. The second plugin is, I guess, the most popular and famous VST instrument is Serum. Again, this is the latest version, I've installed it just a couple days ago. The version is 1.346. And again, I've created a preset here, it's called Crash Test. What is here? I've turned on both oscillators. Unison is on maximum. I've turned on sub-oscillator, noise oscillator, filter, all FXs. And in global settings, the quality is 4x oversampling. And let's see how many instances this computer can handle with 32 samples. Let's start with 10. Of course, Serum is not that heavy as Diva. Okay, 10 work fine. Let's add more copies. I think I've heard some clicks. Let's add some more instances. No, it works fine. No. No. So the final result is 16 tracks. 16 tracks with this crash test preset and 32 samples in buffer size settings. Let's try this scenario on the older computer. So I've got exactly the same version of Serum and the same preset as was used here. Let's see how many instances it can handle. We'll start with 32 samples. No, it can't work at 32 samples. Let's try 512. It's fine. Let's increase the number of the plugins. 8 work fine. Let's double the number of the plugins. No. So it seems like 9 is its maximum with this buffer size, 512, and this crash test preset. And let's try 2048 samples. Let's double the number of the instances. No, already no. Again, it seems like 9 is its maximum, regardless of the buffer size you're using. So even on its maximum, 2048 samples, it can handle only 9 instances of that preset. Let's see how many instances can this new Mac handle with 512 samples and 2048 samples. So this was 32 samples. Let's change to 512. I'll double the number of the instances, 32 now. Let's see whether it works or not. It works. Let's add 16 more. No, it's 48 by now. Let's delete some instances. So it seems like 32 is its maximum with this buffer size 512. Let's try the maximum value, 2048. It still works. Let's add 16 more. So the same story, 32 is its maximum regardless of the buffer size. 32 instances of Serum with this 4 nodes performance, versus 9 instances of Serum on the older MacMini 2012. And let's try the third VST plugin, it's Arturia Pigments, and see how many instances these computers can handle. Again, this is the latest version, by now it's 3.5. And for the test I'm going to use the preset, it's called Magic Realm. It's pretty heavy, it uses 2 engines with granular mode. It has utility engine on, it has 2 filters and some effects. Let's try it again with 32 samples. 1 is fine, let's try 4. 4 is fine. 8. 8 is fine. 16. Oh. 16 is too much. Let's reduce the number of instances. So it seems like 8 is its maximum with this Magic Realm preset and 32 samples buffer size. Let's try the same preset on the older Mac. Okay, let's start with the same buffer size, 32 samples, and let's select the same preset as here. No, it can't handle even 1 instance of this preset at 32 samples. Let's increase buffer size to 512. Let's start with 4 instances of this plugin with this preset. 4 work fine. Let's try 8. No. So with 7 tracks, the performance is fine for a couple of seconds, but after a couple of seconds it starts to crackle and I hear glitches. So 6 are fine. And let's try the buffer size 2048 and let's see how many tracks it can handle. It's 9 by now. No. So 8 tracks with this preset work fine on the older Mac at buffer size 2048. And let's see how many instances maximum we can get here. Let's increase the buffer size to its maximum, 2048, and let's increase the number of the tracks. They work fine. Let's add 8 more, 24 now. They work fine. Let's add 8 more. 32 now. And they work fine as well. Let's add 8 more. 40 now. No, that's too much. Let's reduce the number. So, seems like 32 is the maximum number of instances of this Magic Realm preset of Arturia Pigments on this new MacBook 2021. And we have another result of this comparison. 8 tracks here and 32 tracks here. And again, we're running now Ableton Live here in Rosetta mode. And now it's time to see how many instances of the same plugins and the same presets it can handle in native mode. I'm closing the current version of Ableton Live now, and I'm opening the beta version that runs natively. So this is Ableton Live beta version, it runs natively. And let's see how many instances of the same crash test Diva preset we can run here. Again, just in case, accuracy is divine, voice is 16, stack 4. Buffer size is 32 samples. Let's try 2. Let's try 1 again. No, 1 works perfectly. And let's try 2048. Buffer size 14 is too much. 13 as well. So 12 is its maximum. Let's try draft mode. Draft mode with a buffer size 2048. Yes. Seems like 32 is its maximum. I'm also curious how this multi-core function works when Ableton Live runs natively. Let's do this comparison. And I'll start with 32 samples. No, it can't handle it on 32 samples. And I guess this will be the same story as with Ableton Live running through Rosetta. So I'm not gonna use this multi-core mode with the higher buffer size. Okay, let's try Serum with the same preset we used previously. We are now at 32 samples. It works. 32. No. 24 works fine. Let's try 25. No, 25 is too much. Let's try 2048. It works. 56 now. So I got some crackles at the beginning of the playback, but then when I hold the keys, it disappears. I don't know, can we regard it as death or is it still alive? Okay, let's try 57. No. So 56 is the final result. Okay, let's see the third candidate, Arturia Pigments. Again, let's start with 32 samples buffer size. Yes, it works. 8. It works as well. Let's try 16. No. So 10 is the final result with 32 samples buffer size and this Magic Realm preset. Let's try 2048 samples. Let's add 10 more. No. So it seems like 40 is the final result for this preset at the buffer size 2048. Now we are ready to make final conclusions. I've just tested this new MacBook Pro 2021 in two directions, the comparison with the older Mac and comparison of the plugins running natively and under Rosetta. Of course, that was obviously from the beginning that the new machine will be more powerful than the older one. I just wanted to measure the difference. And the conclusion about the second comparison, Rosetta versus native, is the following. Native versions of different plugins give different increase in performance in comparison with Rosetta. For example, Diva in its divine most CPU-heavy mode. When it runs under Rosetta, it can give up to 8 instances of that crash test very heavy preset. When it runs natively, it can give up to 12 instances of the same preset. While the same preset, but in draft mode, the most CPU-friendly mode in Diva. Under Rosetta, it gives 30 instances, and running natively, it gives only 2 extra instances, 32. Serum running under Rosetta, it can give up to 32 instances of my crash test CPU-heavy preset. And running natively, it can give up to 56 instances of the same preset. The increase is almost 2 times. And Arturia Pigments, 32 instances under Rosetta with Magic Realm preset, and 40 instances of the same presets running natively. Also, I should mention that Ableton Live that runs natively is currently in beta version, and I guess probably the performance will be improved for the official release. macOS Monterey and the whole technology is quite new as well, and I guess in future the performance of the macOS of Ableton Live plugins will be improved as well. Obviously, the comparison with the older MacMini 2012 is killing. And I guess you are interested in the comparison with some newer Macs. But as far as I captured all the values, you can compare with your, I don't know, maybe 2017 MacBook Pros and so on and so forth. So just take the values, take the same presets and do this comparison by your own. I hope this video was helpful if you are planning to get a similar MacBook Pro for your music production. If you already have this Mac, please share your experience with plugins, audio workstations, performance in comments. I'm very interested in the results by other people as well. As usual, your likes, comments, subscriptions will help my channel to grow, and I'll be able to do more useful videos. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you in my next videos. Goodbye.